Melissa Melton for Truthstream Media here, and earlier this month I wrote an article, Why Are So Many Allergic to Wheat Now? And we've seen food allergies and food intolerances are just crazy skyrocketing all over the place, and especially gluten intolerance. And it's something that you see all the time. It's in restaurants, it's everywhere. Everybody knows about gluten-free now. When I was a kid, nobody knew about that. I had never even heard about that till I was in my 20s and started having my own issues and doing my own research and found out that I was actually gluten intolerant and I can't eat it because it makes me sick in so many different ways. But I'm not alone, because that's like 1 in 5 people now who have some kind of issue. And as far as celiac is concerned, for example, I cited this study in 2009 where they did a 50-year study, and they showed that back 50 years ago, research suggested that 1 in 5,000 Americans had celiac disease. But in the past decade, that's now grown to 1 in 133. So that's huge. And they say that at 133.org, there's actually a website for that, figures suggest upwards of 3 million Americans are now suffering from celiac and another 18 million from non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And there are a lot more people, most likely, because some people don't even realize the symptoms they have are related to this. Because it's a lot of different symptoms are encompassed in that. It's everything from depression to aching joints to gastrointestinal problems to weight loss to headaches to exhaustion. Your hair can fall out. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy symptoms that you can get from this. Well, this just came out yesterday. I know this last weekend was March on Monsanto. This just came out. Monsanto modified wheat not approved by USDA found in field. Apparently, Monsanto's genetically modified wheat that they were testing back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was never approved for sale, never approved to be released into the U.S. market at all, wound up on an 80-acre farm in Oregon. And the way this farmer found out is that he was trying to kill wheat using Monsanto Roundup, and a bunch of the plants didn't die. And this guy says, see, this is why sales are going to go down, because people are going to say it's out there and we're not being told it's out there. Well, you're damn right we're not being told that it's out there at all. And this guy from Monsanto came out and said, look, over the past decade, there's been 58 million acres of wheat that have been planted in the U.S., and this is just the first report of Roundup Ready trait being found out of place since Monsanto's commercial development program was discontinued 9 years ago, back in 2005. Well, yeah, that's the first time we found out about it. That's the first time we know about it in the news, but that's supposed to be really the only time this has ever happened. We're supposed to buy that. Actually, this story I found, this is back from 2003, and it concerns one of their mystery wheat testing plots that they had in Montana, but they had them all over the country. They had these testing plots. And even back then, back in the day, they said, oh, there's only less than 50 acres of Roundup Ready wheat plots being tested in the United States and 30 to 40 acres in Canada. So it's really not anything we should be worried about, because outcropping and pollen drift is less than 0.1%, because pollen's just heavy. So pollen's just heavy, and it's not something we should worry about, even though the reason they had to discontinue is because there was such a huge outcry from consumers and from companies saying, we're not going to buy your wheat. Other countries were like, no way. And this stuff, a lot of farmers came out against it too, saying wheat is one of the easiest things to pollinate. There's no way this is going to take over everything. And also, I think it's kind of interesting in this story too, how they mention Monsanto has this pledge to their, customers and their consumers. It's a 6-point pledge that's, very respectful. And the company's committed to dialogue, transparency, respect, and sharing its discoveries and benefits of its research. Even though, transparency, really? Is that the kind of transparency they help spend $50 million for, to keep consumers in the dark about what's in their food? But actually, this isn't even the first time that these kinds of stories have come out. Because back in 1999, it was found that genetically altered wheat was flagged in Thailand. They detected a shipment, scientists did studies on it, and they found that grain shipped from, again, the Pacific Northwest had genetically modified wheat in it, and that's back in 1999. So this story right here, this is about a test plot in Montana. So this wheat was all over the place. They were testing it, and they were testing it in Canada, and they've been finding it everywhere, so this is not new. And this stuff, they're saying, oh, it's totally safe, it's completely nothing to worry about. They say in here, there's no feed, food, or environmental safety concerns associated with the presence of Roundup Ready gene if it's found to be present in the wheat. That's Monsanto's official statement. We don't need to worry at all. Well, it's pretty interesting they said that, because they point to things like, the USDA has such stringent guidelines. Yeah, there's stringent guidelines of the USDA. You can find those right here on the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service website, where they straight up say that when a developer has collected enough evidence that a GE organism poses no risk. I'm going to say that again. When a developer has collected enough evidence. That means when the person making the genetically modified food has collected the evidence. Like when I'm growing my genetically modified frankenfood and then I go, yeah, it looks safe to me. Then I write that on a piece of paper and I basically give that over to the USDA. And then they go, oh, well, I guess it poses no more of a plant pest risk than the equivalent non-GE organism. So you can petition me and I'll go ahead and approve that. And they will have no further APHIS regulatory oversight. So that's all it takes. It's basically a rubber stamping process. And if you look further on this website, you'll actually find right here that the Biotechnology Regulatory Service has approved 431 releases so far in 2013. That means we're only halfway through this year, and already our government has approved the release of 431 genetically engineered organisms into our country. So, and all those 431 things had to do was basically say, yeah, we think it's safe, it's good. And they're like, all right, there you go. No more. We're busy anyway. We got other things to do, like not anything in the best interest of the American people. And Monsanto, on their non-compliance page, this is the government's non-compliance page, Monsanto's all over it. Here's just one example. This is from 2001. I'm going to read this really quick. In 2001, Monsanto failed to monitor for corn volunteers in the year following a GE crop field test on an insect-resistant corn variety. The company allowed the volunteers to release pollen within commercial corn planted over the field test site. Consultants and other field workers reported the issue of corn planted on the previous test site to Monsanto, but the company failed to take action or report the situation to APHIS. So they're letting their GE crop tests just release pollen all over our commercial food, going into our supply there. And here's what the government does for that. Well, Monsanto destroyed that stuff, and they purchased and destroyed the other stuff within the isolation distance, as if that makes it suddenly okay, and we're sure it didn't get anywhere else. That's totally fine. And then IES investigated, and Monsanto paid a stipulated penalty of $12,500. Monsanto probably sneezes 5 times that much money in like half a second. But there you go. They got fined $12,500, and they get to just keep going and growing all of these things and putting them out there and not telling anybody anything. But hey now, come on, he says. They're all about their transparency. It says so right here. Transparency, respect, and sharing their discoveries. They're committed to dialogue. Apparently they're committed to dialogue, transparency, and respect, unless that dialogue involves consultants and other field workers reporting the issue of their genetically modified corn releasing pollen in our commercial corn planted in their test sites. So going back to the question of why are so many people allergic to wheat now, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's not because of magical rainbow flying unicorns.